Get back to work. Oh, shit. When we lose people, okay, and life is a precious gift given to us by the glory of God, and when people get together, regardless of the circumstances, what I said in reality, not comic book sales, about Mary, the mother of Jesus. I don't care what all you hypocrites say, God, she didn't want to be put into an arranged marriage with one of her relatives, and she conceived a child with a Roman centurion, an attractive Roman centurion, and that was a big no-no among the Hebrews. They're very, it's like in Korea on MASH, where they if the girl gets married, she can't marry you if you're not of the same religion. If she gets married out of wedlock, some of these people were extremists and would kill the girl and the baby because of John Calvin type, predestination elect bullshit. And so Joseph had to marry her to protect her and the baby from being killed by hypocrites. And then once the baby was born, they had to get help from people outside of their hypocritical group, And so when you divide into tribal, secular, insular groups, you take religion and turn it into your selfish perception. You invent the conditions for your own persecution and tribalism and murder. Your own hat rocks, hat walks and gruesomes and things like that. So there's large aspects of self-responsibility in what happens to people. Okay? In denying Jesus and not standing up for the Lord's Prayer and being afraid to do that because of a big bunch of murdering Mussolinis and Hitlers. The result was they used their archaic mythology to assimilate and then genocide operations. Right? So horrible things happen. And you have to understand your self-responsibility in eternity. Life's eternal and grace is infinite. Right? And so when we lose someone is murdered, and suicide through depression is murder, okay? Because you're denying people the Lord's Prayer. They see no hope, and I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. If a kid stresses out because of his economic abuse through a child that has health issues that makes it hard for him to carry the load. And then the stress just kills him from cancer cells because he can never relax because of all the abuse from you. Has nothing to do with the child. Has nothing to do with the wife. Has everything to do with the people calling in the debt and trespassing on these people and their gift of life. Okay, the murder, the constant murder. Professionals on TV, all they do is prolong the agony of people's institutionalization, indoctrination, and incarceration. That's all they're doing. Okay? They don't offer any solutions. They give you electroshock therapy and drugs and say, lay back and enjoy the rape. You get hit by a car, aggressive, selfish, violent attorney goes and gets you lots of money and go enjoy the rape. Go to Las Vegas. Go on a cruise. Go hang out with the Rockefellers that do mitts in their sticks. Go have dinner with propaganda shitheads. Go meet them. Go hang out with you. You'll have tickets right there at the front row at their fucking concert, right? It's rare when people are very, very talented and they completely walk away from this whole Flintstones Great Gazoo show because they fundamentally know things are wrong. And they think, well, if I can join the show and help fundamentally fix it, I'll join the show. But they won't allow you to do that. The Mormon church won't allow you to do that. You got to do it their way. You got to go to one of their approved Christian colleges. If you go to a secular college, you will be corrupted by homosexuals and evolutionists. Okay. I could cut my way through everybody's crap. I did at ASU, and I dropped out after joining the military to try to afford college to pay my bills because my sister's addiction to drugs and alcohol, and then getting pregnant. And it was too hard to afford, it was too hard for my mom to take care of Patrice financially. And then it got to the point where I couldn't afford college and or date or think about dating or marrying anybody because me and mom were going to have to take care of Patrice and her kids until someone stepped up to do it. Lawrence Lewis Bowen, right? And it just seemed hopeless, so I joined the military. So I know what it's like. Okay, I know what it's like to have your hopes and aspirations to be a professional athlete taken away from you by selfish people that want you to do it their way. I know what it's like. All you guys think I don't know. It's like, that's because I know I got that from Morgan Freeman in prayer. You never finish anything you start. It's like, are you kidding? I'm the living embodiment of the Lord's Prayer. Life's eternal and grace is infinite, and I'm not going anywhere. And I ain't done with you yet. Okay? You finish. You don't have to finish. When you do things right, you just keep doing things right. And that's bullshit. Never finish anything I start. Okay? I don't get to finish my marriages. How do you finish a marriage? Life's eternal and grace is infinite. And holy covenants continue through faithful love, like the book of Malachi. How am I supposed to finish that? Finish them, flavish them. Right? So long, farewell. Yeah, worse than the widows and orphans you drown. I still see huge amount of chemtrails across here from El Paso, Bliss to Cruces and stuff and back that were never there when I was kids. It was never this aggressive, this violent, this disgusting. I don't know if it was I wasn't raised in Nueva York or LA or, I was raised here on a military reservation where they invent nuclear weapons to mass murder people and have everybody, duck and covering. I know where I'm from. I know where I was born. I know hell. Okay? And you think Phoenix is bad. Phoenix is where they send all the poor people to die. Like Sarco, Saks, and El Paso. This is where they run the operations to recruit the right people to maintain the status quo through oppression and violent conflict. This is where they train all the killers, like Sierra Vista and Cochise County, right? So I know how these fuckers work. I've been around them my whole life. I think for some reason I'm scared of them, but I know for a fact that they're all terrified of me. And if I was a rocket scientist, child molesting, mind raping, murdering, pimp, Epstein file and Epstein file cover up, pile of shit and stuff like that, I'd be terrified of my existence too. I'd be terrified any day now. Parsons is going to totally take control of quantum computing, which will take care of all of it, and all the data centers and all this in the world ain't going to be able to hold him back. It's going to be like trying to hold the ocean back with a broom. I think we've already gotten to that point. Because you have kids, in El Paso wanting to commit suicide because they're tender-hearted sweethearts. Okay? And Amy's kids and, Noah gets violent. I'd have killed you. It still wouldn't have changed anything, Noah. It just would have sent you to prison. And things would be even worse for your mom and your sisters trying to survive this hell. Okay? So killing the Messiah to try to replace the Messiah with the voices in your head isn't going to make the voices in your head go away and isn't going to make the voices in your head the Messiah, right? So killing Jesus to replace Jesus with the devil's ego isn't going to help. It doesn't help at all. It's just, we all know that. Okay. From Napoleon to Hitler to Chiang Kai-shek to Mao Zedong to Genghis Khan to, so on, so on and so forth. Confucius was not, see, that's the cool thing about Confucius. If you look at the Chinese history, you have Genghis Khan and you have the Han Dynasty and all these dynasties and stuff. And Confucius, okay, like Jesus and Muhammad, he was just this rural guy that people sought and went to. Yeah, it's the same thing like with me, same thing with Jesus, same thing with Muhammad, They don't go around conquering and all that bullshit they talk about. Well, in the Buddhist thing, he goes from town to town. That's not true. No. His, when it's right and people accept it, his truth, like the blossom with dear Tudor Suzuki, okay, it wasn't the truth of that man and that spirit in Japan was already there. Okay. It's just that India was a larger population. And so when a larger population has a tender-hearted, protecting, loving person, who usually typically is more of in an isolated community, they avoid large groups. Okay. No, the Roman Empire comes looking for Nub in all the wrong places and ends up Jesus in the shithole outpost of Muhammad in the Arabian desert. Yeah, Earl, Las Cruces, yeah. Haile Selassie up in Ethiopia, In more remote and sparsely populated areas where people are more religious. Okay. But what happens is you do get extremists, like what happens with among the Apaches. And what happened among the Lakota and the Oglala. Okay. You get these very protecting, and a lot of it comes from extremist conditions. Because you get hillbilly, redneck, inbred extremist wackadoodles. And, boy, mister, you just brought a knife to a gunfight. Here comes Goliath, and here's David, right? And when people are in less extremist conditions, they tend to tolerate a lot more fallacy, egotistical expression, and bullshit. 12 in one room in America, everyone in America, right? And the population in Puerto Rico is always growing and growing, right? And so, when you go out, when you try to, here comes Christopher Columbus and we're walking. And then comes George Armstrong Custer and we're walking. And we go to the moon and here comes old Neil Armstrong and we're still walking, right? And like my dad says, geographical fixes don't work. It's like, no, it's not fight and stand your ground. It's good. Be good, don't be bad. Because that's selfish. And it's right to be good. And it's wrong to be selfish and bad, right? And truth is, we're given life by an infinite essence through an eternal existence of understanding and obeying natural laws that can sustain life, and those require balance and harmony through its understanding, right? And so you'll understand that. And so I did watch a thing on a news thing, because saying, that Jeff Bezos dismantled his propaganda wing of the Washington Post, because Jeff went, this isn't doing any good. It's just going to target me for genocidal operations of people doing irrational things. Promoting people destroying their sexuality and capacity to sexually reproduce because they feel hopeless. And then try to attract themselves by competing in sports to feel successful at sports. Especially for philanthropy, which is a human invention that's evil. To manipulate the stupid is not a good idea, right? I have no idea. Good, don't have any ideas. Don't invent nuclear weapons. Don't think that we're going to have world peace when everybody has one of your robots. Okay, don't think like that. That's bad thinking. Department of Government Efficiency. It's government, the only thing that a government can officially do is dissolve itself humanely by being moral, righteous, and holy people, instead of people of home invasion through debt and trespass and delusions of human grandeur of power and authority through human manipulation that they falsely perceive as the best capacity to create or be creative. You're not being creative. No. You're misusing a word, you damn unicorn and dragon. You got an idea? Okay. You getting an idea? Okay. Your linguistics is horrid. You're the great fucking gazoo. Is that Harvey Korman? Sitting there watching I watched The Great Gazoo one, right? It was some of the Flintstones. I was like, oh, they got all 6 seasons. That's cool. I'll sit and watch some of these and relive some of my childhood like Suzuki tells me to do and look at it from a different point of view. Look at your childhood from 6 and 10 and 12. It's almost 60. You go back and, because I always had good conversations with the future with this kid, right? And I see how responsible and how intelligent my conversations were, because like I told, Brian Manwaring, no, yeah, I have the voices and stuff, but you don't want to know anything that you can't have an aspect of control with, or it'll drive you mad. So you only want to know what you need to know to get done that which is right for us to eternally live a life free from eternal wretchedness. So when they murder people through this abuse, and there's nothing you can do about it. I could have told you, Ian, this world was never, it's not this world, these selfish people. When you see Rob Reiner's kid just can't handle life and he uses drugs to try to keep from killing himself from hurting his parents. And then his parents are more interested in their economic endeavors than they are of the depression of their child, who realizes it's all bullshit. He just kills them to put them out of their misery. And you're like, oh, God damn, that's horrible. Yeah, now I don't worry about that with Amy and Steffi and their kids. Well, because Steffi and Amy are nothing like Rob Reiner and his wife. They're not political social satirists that manipulate people with money to feel powerful. Okay. They're just 2 little girls being abused by the perverts trying to abuse me, or abusing me, or trying to abuse me through the abuse of the women in my life and the children. Okay. Well, I feel the same pain and anguish and anxiety about Danny and Demi as I do about Patrick and Natalie and Emily and Kate and Noah Crumb, and I do about Gilbert and Edna and Miriam and Brian and Aaron. When they first started fucking with my head, there was a kid that came to the store. I thought it was Aaron Montalvo because they joined the military and stuff. And they kept fucking with me, and they fuck with you hard. And I kept wanting to see Brian and Aaron to know if my boys were okay. And I also wanted to meet their sisters, They fuck with you hard. And I'm one of the most strong and courageous, kind and brilliant people in the world. Those Captain Kirk episodes, where he does the tears on the lady and has to go back to his ship, and he has the thing with the pain thing and the Helen and saving his whole ship and stuff like that. That's screenwriters playing with their egos, trying to carry the weight of a man turned into a god to save us from our sin and have us live righteous, faithful lives. Okay? You have no idea what it's like to be the eternal spirit of a living God that has prophecy about his life to correct all the wrong done by the devil and Satan, to try to kill God with their brain and replace God with their brain, and help people truly worship God so people aren't mass murdered by other people's selfishness in their brains. You have no idea what it's like to be like Haile Selassie, to be like Jiddu Krishnamurti, to be like Sun Yat-sen. And Suzuki knew. Okay. His was on a smaller scale on that little island. But his admiration and his affection, because he's related to Sun Yat-sen, and he understood Sun Yat-sen really well, he adored Sun Yat-sen. Okay. Sun Yat-sen was like the man that in spirit taught him to, was the man like Confucius that taught him to be the gracious swordsman of Japan, of the family that went there to get away from the aggressive, abusive people in China that were, he adores him. And I don't know if Bruce ever, I think Bruce did, went and read books and studied for himself after all the Raymond Chow bullshit, and went, what the? Suzuki loves Sun Yat-sen more than you do. You use him as an instrument to mass murder people through manipulation and propaganda and tribal warfare. And Suzuki's like, we should all be like Sun Yat-sen and be the farmer and protect the farmer from the industrialist who extorts them and exploits them. And we should not be Farmer Brown. We don't want to be Napoleon and Snowball. And oh shit, Orwell's crazy, but he's got some points, right? It's interesting, but yeah. So, those Johnny Hartman songs, God, they're good, but they're very depressing, and they're hard to handle if you have people in your life that have self-destructive tendencies or suicidal tendencies, or would take their life because the pain would just not go away. It just wouldn't quit. Well, the stress from the abuse and stuff like that, my mom had many times thought about, committing suicide because everything was so horrible. And she was being tortured by the worst selfish people in the world that were trying to assimilate her son with my dad to their group to take over the world, right? Because he's the most powerful human being in the world. More people pray to that little boy born in Las Cruces than any other person in the history of the world on the planet. More people pray to him to do, but the thing is I don't listen to people that tell me to do what they want me to do. I only listen to people that say, I want to help do what Jesus commanded us to do at the Last Supper. And yeah, okay, so that's who I listen to. And if people don't listen to me, it's because it's too sad to listen to me, because you won't read that book again because the ending's just too hard to take. So, when you murder sweet and kind people through your professionalism, this is all being collected. Rockefeller collected all the evidence. This quantum computing technology, all the stuff you think you delete and got rid of, it doesn't even need the evidence. It just needs to correlate the consistencies of the bad brain activity by the act of the selfish and the disgusting. Hell is what you do, and heaven is what you do. So don't worry about any of those files or smoking. I don't want to see the Epstein files. I don't want to watch any of that stuff. I just want to stop any of those kind of things from ever happening again. And the situation as the crimes of opportunity that you invent through your selfishness. That's all I want to see. I don't want to ever talk about it again. I don't want those kind of horrible things to ever come up again. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to see it. And I don't want to fucking feel it. Okay? Leave those girls alone and be careful how you touch them, for they'll awaken and sleep's the only freedom that they know. They went looking for fame and money through their sexuality. Okay? What about a girl who won't do it because she knows it's wrong? She just wants to marry a guy and have a private, intimate sex life, but the military won't allow it to happen because they're fucking perverts. Huh? What about the girls I tried to raise? And the women I tried to comfort after all their abuse through your tribalism and denial of the Lord's Prayer? Huh?